Hello, writers. My name is Haru Stokes from HaruStokesWrites.com, here to share some great writing information with you without all the BS rules and nonsense. This video will be discussing villains and antagonists, so please hit that subscribe button as well as that bell icon to be notified of all future videos. So without further ado, and blathering from me, let's get to work. This video, I'll be discussing the difference between a villain and an antagonist. I'm sure some of you writers out there are scratching your heads and wondering, the hell's this dummy talking about? Villains and antagonists, it's the same thing. First, why I gotta be a dummy? There's no reason for name calling, come on now. Second, it's not actually true, not at all. Your story's villain doesn't have to be the story's antagonist. In fact, you can have tons of villains. So, let's pull out the definition for both. Villain. Noun. In a film, novel, or play, a character whose evil actions or motives are important to the plot. Antagonist. Noun. They're both nouns, so they're similar like that. But an antagonist is a person who actively opposes or is hostile to someone or something, an adversary. So what does that mean? Well, I'll tell you. In my opinion, a villain is a character that does terrible things. In fact, you probably, like me, have more than a few of those in your story. So when I think of the word villain, at least in my stories, I see it more as a catch-all for any person or persons that aren't quote-unquote good. Yeah, I did the air quote thing. I did that because good and bad are relative terms. Like if you wrote in your book, if you wrote a book about a serial killer, and a serial killer reads that book, they'll probably be like, "Yay, serial killers!" The same could go for a terrorist. If an actual terrorist reads the book about a terrorist, it's highly likely they'll side with the person that you would consider a bad guy. Okay, back on topic. Bottom line. Your villain has to be terrible to you, the writer. If you think the person is a piece of shit, then that's the villain in your story. Now, antagonist, that's much more concrete. It is singularly focused on the protagonist and seeks to directly oppose them. Good and bad doesn't mean anything when you're defining an antagonist. Let me repeat this part, it's very important. Good or bad means nothing in defining your story's antagonist. They are simply in opposition to your protagonist. You get it? That's the distinction. So, what does it mean in writing? Well, when you're writing something, you don't have to make your antagonist evil. You know what I'm saying? Your antagonist, they're only focused on opposing your protagonist. In fact, they don't even have to be an asshole at all. In fact, your antagonist could be a hero in their own right. They just don't agree with your hero's actions, like Batman and Superman. Superman may not like Batman, they may fight against each other one day, but that doesn't make Superman bad, even though he is the antagonist. Now, when you think about it, all the stories have been force-fed in our lives about villains being antagonists automatically. Well, you know what? Let me give you an example. Unforgiven. If you've ever seen Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood, great movie. He's the main character, but he's actually not a good person. In fact, everybody in Unforgiven is a bad person. But he's a killer, and somebody gave him some money to go kill somebody. Actually, it's a group of prostitutes. I think the dude slashed the prostitute's face, so they were like, "Kill this dude," if I remember that correctly, which I may not. If it's wrong, you guys let me know in the comment section, all right? And tell me how wrong I am. Anyway. Back to the topic. Both protagonists and antagonists in that movie are not good people. In fact, you can look at most gangster films, and all those people who are the protagonists are not good people. They probably all can be considered villains, especially if you take it from the cop perspective. And if you flipped it, where the cop is trying to arrest these bad guys, they'll all be villains. So, bottom line is for all of us, all writers, to remember that you don't have to make your antagonist a despicable person. In fact, you can make them absolutely wonderful. Hell, your antagonist could be the son Think about that. Stopping a group of vampires trying to get to human prey. The only requirement for an antagonist is that it stands in opposition to your protagonist. That's it and that's all. Everything else, that's fair game. All right? That's it for me now. And while you're here, hit that subscribe button and that bell icon to be notified when the next video drops. No excuses, just right. Peace.